Welcome, unprofessionals, to our episode with Kendrah Butler. This episode is brought to you by the Wall Phone. Did you just get your classroom quiet? Time for a call on the Wall Phone. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Your exit ticket is to comment on this episode or tweet at us with your favorite song to use in the classroom. And now enjoy your episode of Kendrah Butler.
Today's podcast is presented by Podgo. Podgo is the easiest way for you to monetize your podcast, providing podcasters with a flat rate for ad space so you always know how much you get when you include an ad from Podgo. I recently joined as a member, and you can too. Apply today to become a member and immediately be connected with the advertisers that fit your audience. That's podgo.co at podgo.co.
And please put unprofessional development in the "How did you hear about Podgo?" That will give us a little finder's fee. Thank you.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a very musical episode.
Oh, Don Pardo.
Professional development. I'm Cadisco.
And I'm Mealy. And today we've got with us Kendrah Butler. So, hey, good to see you. Good to have you here.
How are you doing today?
Good. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Awesome. So, I'm on the Facebook. I'm mostly on the Twitter, but I'm on the Facebook occasionally. And so there's a Facebook thing that they said, hey, you went to Cheltenham High School. Do you want to do this Cheltenham High School Facebook thingamahoppy? And I said, sure. And some guy named Chuck Lagerman, I have no idea who that is.
Is thingamahoppy a scientific term?
Thingamahoppy? Yes.
There's a lot of Latin roots I couldn't follow there.
I didn't even realize I said that word.
Sounds educational.
It is. So I joined the Facebook thingamahoppy, basically so I could honestly promote the podcast and get some people on there to try and make them listen to my podcast.
Yeah.
But I see this thing, Kendrah Butler, blah, 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 got this album, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, look at that. And she's a teacher, She has a website. She's got music and all this stuff. And I said, there's a little contact me button. I said, let me hit the contact button and send her an email out and see if she wants to come on the podcast. And she didn't have enough sense to say no. And so here she is on the, on the podcast.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. I am a new fan of the show.
Awesome. We love new fans.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of it myself.
I'm just a big fan of people listening to me ramble. That's basically what I'm a big fan of.
Yeah.
Which is why I became a teacher and a podcaster.
Yes.
So
it all comes together.
It does. It does.
Two jobs where people can listen to you while they fall asleep.
Exactly. That's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine. When I see the downloads, I don't know how much you listened, but just
There's no quiz at the end.
No.
I'm collecting a lot of data in that way.
Do it again. Just download and listen again. If we put you to sleep, that's cool. So, So we've got this writing prompt here, and we'll see how Kendrah can handle it. She teaches elementary school, and so I told her to describe your journey through the world of education in the style of the classic children's book, If You Give a Mouse a Cookie.
All right, let's see what I can do. All right, so I have taught from K to 4.
Okay.
I've taught through now a pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And if you give a mouse a cookie, he'll ask for a glass of milk, right?
Right.
So if you give a teacher a pandemic, we'll ask for a glass of wine.
Yes,
right?
There we go.
Right?
There we go.
So if
That's
you give
good.
a teacher, let's say, if you give a teacher the job of not only...
Oh, I thought you were going to say if you give a teacher a glass of wine, everyone gets A's.
If you give a teacher a glass of wine, all the parents will be happy because that's work for the kids. Oh man! If you give a teacher a computer, they will get an advanced degree in computer science.
Nice.
So my journey through education has been uncustomary.
Okay, cool.
I don't think there is a customary track to education. I've met almost nobody who's like, yeah, I just wanted to be an educator. So then I went to school for education. Then I became one. Like that's a very, very rare tale.
Very rare.
Which is good. That means we got people with some life experience in school.
Yes.
Very true. I mean, I never thought I was going to come into education. My undergrad degree is in political science and sociology with a minor in Spanish. And so my friend and I, one of my very close friends, she's a teacher. And at our church, we were seeing that a lot of the kids were, they were just so behind. And so we ended up starting a nonprofit called the Moses Program. It was an acronym for motivating our students, equipping scholars.
Cool. My son's name is Moses, by the way. But go ahead.
Nice. That's a good, strong name.
It is. Name. Yes. And, complete tangent. We're going to go there. So his name, I named him Moses Montgomery Mealy. Okay.
Oh, that's awesome. Triple M's.
Yeah. So when the girls see him, they say, that was what I.
Oh, that's adorable.
Mealy, I'm not mad.
Okay.
I'm just disappointed.
Thank you. Okay. Back to your story. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, just that when we started the program, I started falling in love with just working with the kids.
Awesome.
And then we started like a mini, meal program attached to it. So the kids would come right after school, get help with their homework, help with this, help with that. And then they'd have a meal and then go on their merry way. So we did this for a few years. Moses program lasted for about 5 years. And in that process, I was like, you know what, I think I'm going to go back to school. So I ended up getting my master's in education.
Cool.
And it was history from there.
Okay. And so, but now are you going back to, and you said, was that a joke or are you actually going back for computer science now as well?
No, I'm actually working on my doctorate in educational leadership.
Wow.
So my plan is to eventually get out of the classroom and hopefully, into a principal position, something in that realm.
Okay. So you scream, is there a doctor in the house? You have to perform CPR legally.
That's true.
I can give him a textbook and pray for
there
the
you go. Yes, here's my thesis.
Hopefully that helps with your heart attack.
My first year teaching, there's a social studies teacher on my team who that year got her doctorate as she was teaching. So and the day her thesis was approved, she came in the next day with a T-shirt that said, "Not that kind of doctor."
Nice.
I have to find that.
That's cool. That's cool.
I have to find that.
So there's probably very few people who went to Cheltenham High School, so we're not going to dwell on this too long. But other than me, you, and Reggie Jackson, and
Benjamin Netanyahu.
Benjamin Netanyahu. Yes, and some Nobel Prize winner whose name no one knows except for the people that see it on the sign. It used to be on the stadium. You know what I'm talking about?
The rapper Little Dicky.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's a new one on me.
We went to Cheltenham, and another girl from our class, she was in the WNBA. She's now a coach for.
Oh, wow. So I need to keep up with that.
I mean,
so what year did you graduate?
Alumni.
What year did you graduate?
I graduated in 2004.
2004. Okay. So I graduated in 87. So I don't think there's anyone that you would know that I would know, I guess, then, in terms of teachers. Chaz Ambler was probably gone, right? Mr. Ambler taught English.
I don't think he was there.
No, and all my teachers were old when I was there, so they were probably either retired or dead. What about Mr. Daly, the basketball coach?
Yeah, Daly was still there when I was a freshman.
Okay, he coached my brother. My brother went to state quarterfinals with Daly. So
and it's funny
in '93, maybe. Go ahead.
Wow.
Yeah.
Daly, I got to know him because I played golf my freshman year. And
he loves golf. He's really good. He's really good.
He was he was the coach for the golf team at Cheltenham.
Yeah. Yes.
I know nothing about this high school, but we did interview Mealy's brother. Is this the coach that your brother would always fight with?
Well, it's the coach.
That's a yes.
Not fought with, but yes, a little bit. Yes.
I can see how that's true.
Well, this might get cut, but so it's the state quarterfinals. We're down by 8 points. They were outmatched, and they'd been down by 8 points most of the game. So it would go from down from they would maybe cut it to 6, and then it would go back to 12 or 14, and they'd get back to within 8 points. But it's not over. 8 points in basketball is
Yeah.
There's 2 minutes left in the game. In basketball, that's forever.
Yeah.
He pulled the starters and started giving other kids some time so they could have experience. I am like, what is wrong with you? Like, and it wasn't like he was putting like seniors in to give them like one last, minute on the court. He was putting in underclassmen. He's pulling seniors with 2 minutes left. You're down by 8. I'm like, dude, like, why are you giving up? Just because you haven't like caught up. I'm like, oh, I was ready to throttle the man. So anyway, so that's, Coach Daly, sorry. It was a mistake.
Yeah, Cheltenham sports are pretty intense.
Yeah.
Pretty intense.
By the way, if you go to Abington, you're a ghost for 4 years. If you go to Cheltenham, you're a panther for life, baby.
Yeah. Right.
So someone put in their yearbook. And El Delator is the yearbook. Okay, that's enough Cheltenham trivia.
All right, so I know music is really important to you.
Yes.
And you've done some kind of big things in the world of music and performing. So give us some of the highlights. So for people who don't know, like, what are some of the highlights of your musical experiences and career, and how did it start and where did it kind of take you?
So I always tell anyone who, meets me for the first time that I have one superhero cape, which is in the realm of education. And then my other superhero cape is with music,
Cool.
Besides being a mom and a wife and all that other cool cat stuff, right? So
at least 4 capes then.
That's a lot of capes.
At least.
Heavy. That's a heavy kind.
I know.
But
even though I learned from Incredibles,
even
though you must not have watched the Incredibles because they taught us don't wear a cape. So
this is also true. But me and music, I started off as with classical, and I kept classical all the way from the time I was 5 until 18, and while concurrently doing jazz. And then in undergrad, I barely even touched the piano and kind of came back to it towards the end of my studies, and then just started really getting into the scene here in Philadelphia. It has a huge jazz scene. Most people say, oh, yeah, the best musicians from New York or from California, blah, blah, blah.
Or New Orleans for jazz, right?
Right,
yeah.
New Orleans. But I'm telling you, Philadelphia has a huge wealth of jazz musicians, and the history here is insane. And all of the best jazz musicians in the world have either come to Philadelphia or from Philadelphia, stayed in Philadelphia, studied with a Philadelphia jazz musician, etc. So anyway, I learned a lot from, the hometown heroes here, like Don Wilson and Kenny Gates and Tony Williams, and studying with Eddie Green, who was the pianist for Billy Paul, and, all of these cats. So anyway, fast forward a few years later, and, in addition to just being a musician, I'm also a composer. I do a lot of writing. So a young lady and myself were chosen as Kimmel Center jazz artists a few years ago. Kimmel Center is like modern day Carnegie Hall for Philadelphia, if you want to think of it that way.
Cool.
I didn't know Jimmy Kimmel opened up a center. That's cool.
That's nice.
Yes, it's huge and well funded.
That's cool. Awesome. That's awesome.
But no, the Kimmel Center, that's who hosts the Philadelphia Orchestra. And they do a lot of programming, and then they also have a residency program where they, handpick people who apply, and you go through this rigorous application process. And then you present on the Kimmel Center stage, which is pretty powerful. And you spend a year creating this body of work. And then it's just been so much. The journey has been so insane. I mean, I randomly got a phone call. I'm literally in the middle of parent-teacher conferences, no lie. I look at my phone and I'm looking at this email and was like, hey, Kendrah, Levar Burton would like you to be a part of one of his tour stops.
Nice.
For the Levar Burton Reads tour. And I was sitting there, parents, I'm in the middle of, just finishing with a parent, and I'm trying to keep from screaming in the gymnasium, right? And so I was like, oh my gosh, trying to contain myself.
You got to step back and go like, wait, a Levar Burton or the Levar Burton?
Exactly. And the first time I'm like, this is fake. Like, this is one of those, African crazy emails. Like,
right. Yes. Just deposit this money. Yes. Western Union, Levar Burton some money. And then you...
Right. Exactly. And so I was like, so his producer is the one who reached out to me, and she said, well, just give me a call when you get a chance. And so at this point, I'm ready to leave parent-teacher conferences, be in my car.
Yeah, I'm filling out whatever absentee form I got to fill out.
Exactly.
I will see you later. Yes.
Exactly. And we were there until 7 o'clock that night. So I'm like, oh my gosh. So anyway, it turned out to be a beautiful experience. Levar Burton is one of the most beautiful human beings. Oh. And his mom is actually a teacher. He comes from a long history.
Yeah, I do know that. Yes, yeah.
And if I found out Levar Burton was mean, I'd be heartbroken.
I know. Same here.
You can't fake that for that many years.
No, you can't. Reading Rainbow, and there's no way.
Right.
And it's so funny because I called my mom. It was at this hall in the Scottish Rite Auditorium in New Jersey, where he did his tour. It was sold out. And it was just me and him on stage, me and my piano, and I actually wrote new music to go with an excerpt that he was reading from the father of sci-fi. His name is Samuel Delany. He's a Black author.
Okay.
And he was reading an excerpt from his book called The Drifting Glass. And so before we get started, I was like, Mom, I'm here. She was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're there. And so I was telling Levar, I was like, oh, I'm on the phone with my mom. He was like, give me that phone. Let me talk to Mom. Right? So he grabs the phone and he's like, oh, hi, Mrs. Butler. She was like, is this Levar Burton? He was like, yes, this is Levar Burton, in his very distinguished voice. And she goes, sweet Jesus, it's Levar Burton. It was the funniest thing. My husband and I were in tears because we were laughing so hard, and she was so excited.
Yes.
But it was a beautiful experience. Music will take you to some crazy, crazy places.
That is cool. That is really, crazy, really cool. Places. Oh, cool.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, it can take you some crazy places, and networking with people. And I sit on the board of trustees for an amazing organization, Tanya Dorsey and New Vision. And what we do is we provide music scholarships for kids to take music lessons. Nice. And we're trying to advertise it more so that more kids can, apply. Mm-hmm. And it's a nice scholarship. It's a scholarship that'll provide money for them to take lessons for the year.
Okay.
And so, and the woman who runs the organization, she's heading the music department for the Archdiocese of Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. And we actually did, they have this thing every 5 years called the National Black Catholic Congress.
Okay.
And it's something that happens. I mean, Black Catholics, I've never seen so many Black Catholics in my life. I didn't even know that there was this huge sect of Black Catholics all over the world who were coming for this huge symposium that they had in Florida.
Okay.
A week-long situation. Music will lead you to play in front of folks you wouldn't even know.
Is the scholarship only for local people, or if someone is it because we only have so many Pennsylvania listeners, is it
right? Yeah, it's predominantly for the tri-state.
Okay.
Primarily, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware.
Yeah, I didn't know if there were virtual lessons or that you could use a scholarship or something. I was just double checking. I didn't think so, but yeah.
Yeah, that's actually funny. I don't think we've ever had someone outside of the tri-state apply.
Right.
So, that could be something that we could discuss. We actually had a board meeting this morning. But
so I'm thinking one of our listeners that has a kid that says, hey,
The listeners move to Pennsylvania.
That's what you need to do. That's the answer. It's where the jazz is happening.
That's right. We'll put them right on stage. Listen, I was on stage at the age of 8 years old, and I'm telling you, since then it's just been, one progression to the next.
Cool. So
I can't even play Heart and Soul, so you beat me.
I can play Heart and Soul, and I can play a little bit of the MASH theme, and I can play what else? I took 2 years, and then I used to be able to play. I don't know what it's called, but basically sports teams use it for that. It's probably insensitive at this point, but the Native American dun, 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 dun. I can't. I don't hear notes.
What?
I know. Sorry for my See, that's now you know how. Now you know what an accomplishment. The fact that the theme song is anything. That lets you know how far it actually progressed, as we were discussing off air. Our theme song is a work in progress, and Kendrah might be helping us out with a little bit of that. But
just finding out about that right now.
Yes,
there you go.
But no, you know the song. They play it at
like Philip Sousa.
No, they play it at like Chiefs games and Atlanta Braves games and Florida Seminoles games. Burn, dun, dun, dun. You do a little chop thing and.
Oh, okay, I know what you mean.
You have no idea?
Okay. I'm drawing blanks.
If I played it for you, you'd go, oh, that's what you think that sounds like.
You probably have to play it for me, and then I'd be like, oh, yeah.
So
I know what you refer to. I wonder what song that is. Listeners, tweet us if you know what the heck we're talking about.
Yes, I only hear volume of notes and length of notes. Tone. It doesn't CBD.
It gets a little lost in translation.
It's all, to me, just how loud or soft and how long the note is. That's all I can hear most of the time. Okay? But somehow my nephew's girlfriend was able to understand what I wanted, and she played our theme song on this weird electronic flute, and that's where that came from.
Yeah. I was trying to identify the patch, what patch that was.
Yeah, no, it's literally you blow into it and play with your fingers, but it's electronic.
Yeah, they have like an EV or an EW, the electric valve instrument or electric wind instrument.
Yeah, and you can, I guess.
I don't vape.
It's kind of like that. It is like that. And kind of like, I guess, just like a keyboard, you could select, you could pick like saxophone or flute or, clarinet or whatever. And I don't even know what she picked, but she's like, how's this? I'm like, that's it. And, there's lyrics too, but maybe we'll do them off air because Tedisco gets really upset when I start trying to sing them. But
I get very, very entertained.
The lyrics are, it's okay to be unprofessional. This is your teacher confessional. Okay. So that's how that goes.
I love it.
Thank you.
Those are some good words.
Thank you.
1 to 10, 10 being Mozart. Where would you, as a musician, where would you rank that?
I'd have to give it maybe about a 5.3.
Okay. Well, there's more.
Like the lyrics.
There's more.
The lyrics are dope.
These are real teachers. The stories are real. You're gonna laugh with Tedisco and Meal.
I love it.
So, okay. Well, I'll be sending you the MP3, and you can put a beat to it and jazz it up. And if you want to sing it, that's cool. My wife can sing a little bit. She might be get a little mad, but we'll figure it out. So I like hear behind it. Oh God, this is so goofy. I hear in my head like Breaking Bad bongos kind of like behind it, kind of. I want that to like fill in, and probably like just a little bass line. I don't want I want the whatever weird electronic flute. That's the star of the show. That's the star of the dish if you're a Bobby Flay fan. But I want a little
live toucan.
A bird call.
Is that what you?
Be a gentle toucan. A gentle toucan.
I don't know what that means.
Toucan's a little bit of caramel. It can dip their. So we're gonna feed a toucan some caramel. Record that with the bongos, and I don't think it's too involved.
Yes, so that's what we'll do. That's what we'll do. Okay, so the goal is, guys, and we're going to see how this goes, to play a little bit of Kendrah's music. Now, she's on Spotify. I don't know where else you get. Where else do we get your music besides Spotify?
I mean,
Apple.
I just released a new album called Faith Walk last month. And literally, you can buy it on every streaming website you can think of. So, whether it's iTunes, you got Spotify, you can check it out on YouTube.
Is SoundCloud still a thing?
Copy. Say that again?
Is SoundCloud still a thing?
It's still a thing.
Okay.
I don't know if it's on SoundCloud because it's not necessarily my thing.
Okay.
But it's still a thing.
Okay.
But you can totes get an autographed copy also.
Awesome.
From my website at
cool.
KendrahBW.com.
Cool. And if you didn't get that, you just scroll down on what you're listening to and click on the link, and it'll take you right there to her website. We'll make that happen. Okay. Awesome. We're gonna play Bright-Eyed Little Girl. That's really really cool. And we'll play the other part at the end of the show, kind of like play us out, kind of sort of type thing. Does that sound cool?
Sure.
Yeah. So that's what I'm thinking there. So that's a lot of fun. Now, other than the keyboards, did you play anything else on that, or what else do you do when it comes to that?
Yeah, I mean, this album, I'm just doing piano and vocals.
Okay.
So that particular set happens to feature a jazz bassist named Nimrod Speaks. He's like one of the most in-demand bassists like ever. And then also an amazing drummer, Daryl Jackson. Also featured on that album, I have Justin Sekaluski on bass as well. Mm-hmm. I've got Gusten Rudolph on drums and Jeff Skull on guitar.
Cool.
I
cool.
love that. I love jazz music so much, and it's so cool that with a lot of classical music or pop music, that they set up a pattern, they repeat the pattern, then they do a bridge, and there's more of a pattern for the chorus. But with jazz, it sets up a pattern, and then it goes, all right, how many ways can I vary this?
Yes.
I'm just gonna change it up every single time, and like it's so insane to think about and follow and try to recreate. It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
I love it. And that particular song that you guys just played is part of a larger suite. It's a 4-part suite. And much to what you were saying, each suite is so different. And it's called the Elizabethan Suite, named after my grandmother, Butler. And it basically is what I think her love letter to me would be. She passed away when I was 3. Mm-hmm. But it's through each stage of my development into womanhood. So the piece that you played is called Bright-Eyed Little Girl. And, when I think about education, I think about like kids when they come to us, especially the little ones. I teach 3rd grade right now. Mm-hmm. And I love it. But the little ones, they come in so bright-eyed. They're excited to learn. They're ready to go.
Yeah.
And as educators, we got to make it interesting to them because, like you said, or else they'll be asleep or drifting off.
Yes.
And so it's 4 parts. What are the titles of each part then?
Sure. So the first part, that one's Sweet Little Baby Cakes. And that's me as a baby. And it's this lullaby, kind of 3/4 kind of feeling. The second movement you just heard, that was Bright-Eyed Little Girl. The third movement is the collegian. So that's kind of like this fast pace that leads into a slow pace piece. It's kind of deep. And then the last one, which I think we'll probably hear towards the end of the show, is called Classy Lady. And it's, just kind of like my journey into womanhood.
Yeah, that's cool.
Love that.
That's cool.
Love that.
That's really, really cool. Okay. And so what other instruments do you play though? Even though you didn't play them on there, do you play things other than piano and keyboard or whatever?
Yeah, I play violin.
Okay.
I started to have that on the album, but kind of not decided against it. I just wanted to focus more on trio quartet stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I dabble in a couple other instruments, and I mean like, rudimentary stuff. But piano and violin are my most, proficient, I should say, instruments.
Okay. What other instruments do you dabble in? Are they related to piano and violin?
In organ.
Okay.
I dabble in guitar.
Cool. Electric or acoustic?
Drums. Acoustic.
Okay. So,
we have
do you or do you not, or have you ever had like guitar calluses? Because that's like the mark of a guitar player, right?
Yeah, I've had some calluses, and I've had to stop because it'll affect my piano playing.
Oh,
so the pain from the calluses that'll develop. I was like, nah, I can't do
Steel
this.
string.
Yeah, so it could be the action of the guitars that we have too.
Okay.
I can't. Hey, let me pick up the guitar every day and transfer that over to piano. And
you should do like Tedesco does. Tedesco plays ukulele.
Oh yeah, ukulele is where it's at.
Yeah.
I don't play like you play. Let's be honest.
Okay.
But I actually got my first guitar by steel string guitar because my mom plays guitar.
Okay.
And she's a nurse.
Nice.
And it started the steel string. The calluses kept her from being able to find patients' pulses.
Oh wow!
Wow.
So she had to switch over to nylon, and so I wound up getting her steel string guitar, which it's a really nice guitar, but
nice.
Play more. Nice Alvarez.
Hey, unprofessionals! This here's another one of them there commercials. Okay, it's for a good friend, Alex Pimentel. Yeah. He used to be a math teacher. Now he does taxes. Okay? You want your taxes done by a math teacher. You want to make sure it's done right. Just like those other things you have math teachers do when you struggle with, have a math teacher do your taxes. Or if you are a math teacher and you just don't feel like doing it, you just send it on to him. All right? His prices are reasonable, starting at $75. He can do all 50 states. I live in Arizona, but I work in Oklahoma, okay? Who are you, King Tut? But anyway, sorry, Steve Martin fans. But it's an old reference. Going back to the 70s for some of you guys. You want to get your taxes done, but you don't feel like doing them. So you go to PimentelGarcia.com. The connection's in the show notes down there. You just go down to the show notes, you click on that, it takes you to the website, you connect with Alex there. He does your taxes for you, gets them done lickety-split. All right? So that's what you need to do. So thank you guys. Thank you for supporting a teacher who is trying to go out and get a little business started. We appreciate you. And now, back to the wonderful show. So now we're going to kind of like play around with stay in the music theme and weave it in with the education. So
sure.
How does rhythm and melody and tempo and all the musicality and that basically your life is music, it sounds like a lot of the time. How does that influence and how do you work that into your lesson planning and your teaching style and kind of like talk to us how having musical gifts and talents kind of helps you as an educator?
I started a new school district this year. In the previous school district that I was in, it was a Title I school that I was in. Taught there for 7 years. And my first 3 years, I taught first grade, and I had a piano in my room.
That's nice. Awesome. Oh, wow.
And so
how did that happen?
But I also hated it.
Yeah.
I was about to say, how do you keep the kids off of it?
Right. So there's that piece, right? And then there's also the piece where I'm like, you know what? I could be using this room for something else. Like the room that the upright piano is taking
it takes
up,
space. Yeah. You could have
space.
Books or other things there for first graders, right?
But the other good part was that it was an awesome attention getter. I would sing and play. The kids would, they just loved it.
Yeah.
And so I kind of bridged that as I went on throughout my years. And I said, all right, I don't want the piano anymore. So they put it in the music teacher's room because our building had 2 pianos at that time. One was in the lunchroom for whatever reason.
Because it's big and it took and where do we put just a piece of thing we don't want anymore? Let's fix in the lunchroom.
Exactly.
Someone like the last day of school that didn't want it in the room anymore just shoved it in there and said, you know what? No one will even know. They'll think it's here, and no one questions. Once the piano's in the lunchroom, until someone moves it to their room, no one questions. It's like, oh, that's where it is. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how school works, boys and girls.
Right, exactly. And so eventually I said, you know what, I'm going to start bringing my guitar. So I just started bringing my guitar. It was small. I could throw it in the closet when I'm done with it. And I would just, use that for different strategies in the classroom. And, even just to have time for music, not that I was a music teacher because I was teaching, English language arts, math, social studies, science. But you can incorporate music into all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
And so even in the rhythm of how I talk to the children,
mm-hmm.
How I tell stories to the children, all of that's interwoven into, how I teach.
Excellent.
And, the kids are so shocked when they find out that you're on YouTube. First of all, they think that you're like Justin Bieber. Oh,
right.
My gosh,
yes, you are huge. Right.
They think you are such a huge deal. And they were like, Mrs. Waters, you're a superstar. Like, and I'm like, listen, I'm not. Like, I'm the low man on the totem pole, this and that. But it's cool to see, I've bought in my previous district where I was for 7 years, I would bring in musicians every year. My school was predominantly Black and brown. And so we would have what's called Day of the Child.
Okay.
Dia de los Niños. Mm-hmm. So we would have activities, for the entire day. We would just celebrate the children. They have fun activities all throughout the day. And one of the stations was a music station. And so me and the music teacher would work hand in hand every year. And I'd bring in jazz musicians, from Philly. And we do so many fun things. One of my friends, Pedro Rodriguez, who's a drummer and visual artist, he would come in for years, to do drums and teach the kids about rhythm. And we do this whole, jazz piece. And the kids were their whole world was open to a different genre, a different form of music, a different way to relate,
Mm-hmm.
and, it proved to be something that would be great just to bring into the school. So I'm looking forward after the pandemic. I'm actually planning for Black History Month to do like a little jazz presentation, to introduce the Harlem Renaissance.
Nice.
All that kind of cool stuff.
Cool.
That's actually exactly what I just did this year. So one of our units is on the Harlem Renaissance.
Nice.
I teach 7th grade English.
Nice.
And so I wanted to introduce the idea of like why was the Harlem Renaissance so special? Like what was so different about it? And so I had them listen to 3 pieces. I had them listen to like some Beethoven, and then I had them listen to something like Vivaldi, and then I had them listen to Rhapsody in Blue. And I had them like think about like what was so different about Rhapsody in Blue. And it was just kind of like that. I mean, music is just so sublime. And so it's just one of those things that just catches people. And like you just see like how different things are, and you can feel how different they are. And from there we can start looking at Langston Hughes and diving into Paul Laurence Dunbar and seeing how different this must be from everything that came before it.
Amen.
Absolutely.
So I guess the natural question though is, why don't you teach music? And did you not want to do that? What's the reason behind you not being a music teacher?
Yeah, you know what? I taught privately for 5 years, right out of undergrad. And remember I told you I kind of unconventionally came to education.
Yeah.
I actually worked as a public health researcher for about a year before I gotten laid off because my background was, in in political science and sociology. So I was a social scientist. And I was thinking, oh, yeah, fresh out of college, you have your own office and you're making $35,000. That's big time. And then we were in the middle of a recession.
Mm-hmm.
Obama had just come into office. And when the recession hit, people were losing their jobs left and right. So all the new hires, we lost our jobs.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right. So I fell back on music. I started teaching for about 2 to 3 different music schools. I was playing in church, music directing in church, and just hustling, you know.
Right.
Just to make,
pay bills. Right.
That's right. And so when I started the program with my friend, the nonprofit that we started, I just love teaching, you know, the actual learning how to read and learning how to do math and all of those kinds of things. So I knew I could always fall back on my music and have that as a part of me. I didn't really want to teach it, you know. I did private instruction for 5 years and I liked it. It was cute, but I said, you know what, this isn't my niche in education. This isn't for me. So I enjoy just teaching kids how to read and how to fall in love with reading.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
I've also found it's actually really tough for, like, me personally. I know a lot of teachers do fine, but I find it really tough to teach things I'm super passionate about, because then when the kids aren't passionate about it, because it's work to them, right? No matter what it is.
Right.
And so when you bring in something and you're so excited about it and they're like, oh, good, more work. Like, it can be pretty heartbreaking. So I get, like, needing that sort of distance and not wanting to bring your hobbies to work.
Yeah. Right. And you want to miss it.
Right.
Yeah. You know what I mean? You want to miss it.
I imagine if you played music all day with kids, when you would come home, you wouldn't want to, like, look at the piano. Yeah.
Right. Because you've just been doing it all day.
Yeah.
But when I come home after, you know, we're in my district is in hybrid now.
Mm-hmm.
And when I come home, I have my kids and we just run to the piano, and that's our thing. That's our outlet, you know?
Yeah. De-stress. Right. That's let it all out. Right. Yeah. Right. Pound it on the keys. Right.
That's right.
All right. So, Kendrah, here's what I like about music and school. They're both kind of performances, and nothing ever goes as planned.
That's right.
And you got to roll with the punches and just keep the song going. So, do you have any funny stories from the classroom or from your musical life where crazy things happen and you just had to keep going?
Yeah, I think. Oh my gosh, I'm actually surprised that I am still a teacher, because my first years were insane. And I think every teacher says that, like, you don't know what you're doing.
Nope.
It's either sink or swim. And I had
started a Title I school?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it
me too. Yep.
Sweet Jesus, Levar Burton. It was one of those crazy. My first year I had first grade, and I had worked for a year even with my master's degree, because I was working on my certification. I had worked in the same district as a paraprofessional, which was the best segue into really teaching. And so, once I had gotten certified in that year, my administrator, my principal at the time, just started using me to sub, like almost to be the building sub.
Yeah.
And so, I got, my feet wet and this, but it's nothing like having your own room.
No.
And so my first year, my first grade class, we're unprofessional, right?
We're very unprofessional.
Yes.
So I said my administrator packed my classroom with a lot of the behaviors.
Nice.
And so, that's boatloads of fun. And so when I say
fire.
Literally, I don't even know how I survived that first year. I cried every other day. I was quitting every other week. Like, I'm walking out. I can't do this. This is insane. And on my way to work, and I still do this to this day. On my way to work, I always call my mom. We always talk on my way to work. So she would be praying with me and, all of this stuff. So it was just crazy, right? So I remember it had to have been halfway through my first year. And my principal was like, well, listen, I was Butler at the time. She said, well, listen, Butler, I'm going to go into your class. I need you to go talk to this parent. I'll keep an eye on the kids. And remember, I had my piano in my room.
Right.
So I said, all right, well, at this, I think we had maybe an IEP meeting or whatever. So I leave the room and I'm thinking, oh yeah, the principal's in there. She's got this on lock, right?
Right.
So, you know how you have a little window pane in your door where you can kind of peep in and see. So I go to the meeting, come back maybe about 45 minutes later, right? And I'm looking at my room and I'm saying, this looks like a zoo in here, right? So down the hall where my room was at the time, the office was like just a couple inches away to the right. And I'm hearing all this music as I'm entering out of the office, walking to my room, and I'm hearing all this piano and, you know, it sounds crazy and blah, blah, blah. So I look in there, the kids are going insane. There's one kid who's like banging on the piano and the principal is standing there like deer lights at night. Deer in the headlights.
Yes.
And I'm sitting there like,
oh,
okay,
no.
Number one, first of all, I'm asking you for advice of how to handle certain things with these kids, these crazy kids, and she can't even contain them. And so I just kind of looked through the window and I sat back and I took about 5 minutes.
I'm not coming right in. No, I'm walking on by.
I'm not coming in.
I'm going to the break room. That meeting went so long. I'm sorry. I took all day.
That's right. I'm going to the teacher, back into the office to get a snack.
You're gonna let that principal earn a paycheck today.
That's right. And give me a little bit more grace when it comes to handling these kids, for our first year.
Yes.
So I had to
I'm filling out my observation with all high marks, and you're signing that before you walk out of here.
That's right. So I think that was probably one of the funniest moments and an aha moment that showed like, okay, you can kind of make this through. The principal can't handle these children.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
That tells you it's not you.
Exactly. And I'm looking through the window like, it was hilarious to me. But there's so many hilarious moments throughout this teaching situation. And, I think the funniest has been really through the pandemic and teaching these kids online.
That's tough for elementary school.
Elementary online.
Oh, yeah. And how, the kids are talking. You're like, all right, you're muted. We can't hear you. I think that's the sentence of the year. You're muted. Unmute your mic.
Or please mute your mic.
Oh, jeez.
We can hear you and we know you're in the bathroom.
That's right. We know you're in the bathroom. I'm calling you and you have me muted and I can see you're joking around with your sister in the background having a pillow fight.
Yes.
And I'm calling you like, hello, or you're putting your feet in the screen because,
Oh, my goodness. The new one that keeps happening to me now. So I've got kids who are struggling, right? We teach in block schedule, and so we are in our second semester. So we're about a month and in or so here now. And so there's these kids who I know they haven't done anything, right? And so it comes time, the way I run my class, a lot of times there's like a group that we work together. I do a little bit of instruction. We try and work some problems together. I teach math. And then a lot of times I put kids in the breakout room. So whether it's, sometimes it's just 2, 3, sometimes it's bigger, but I put them in a breakout room for whatever reason. So I put kids in the breakout room. I create the breakout room and they all go to the breakout room except for like 1 or 2 kids who's obviously not paying any attention, right?
They logged in and sprinted away from their computer.
They're doing whatever. But the funny thing is they're kind of half there, is what I found out. So I'm like, so here's George, right? And I go, okay, so it's just me and George here in the main room. Everyone else is in the breakout room. George hasn't turned anything in. Good time for me to talk to George about that, right? Yeah. We got you by yourself. Hey, George, I just want to kind of talk to you about some of these assignments that you haven't turned in. What does George do then?
Logs out.
He goes right to the breakout room.
Oh.
To which point, like, it's like that kid that like won't turn around when you're calling his name. You know what I mean? I'm like, dude, I can come in the breakout room. I go in the. Yeah. Now I gotta go in the breakout room and talk to you about the fact that you're missing assignments. Oh my goodness. Oh, it's just so goofy.
Hysterical.
It's really goofy. So you never know.
I complain to Mealy all the time. They're the kids there who don't hear anything, don't respond to anything. It's like they're absent the whole time, and then the moment I say goodbye, they log out first.
Yeah,
I'm like,
gone.
How is that the thing you heard?
Yeah, they're gone. They're gone. They are gone. They are gone.
So what's been happening with you online?
Yeah, I mean, we've been hybrid for the last, since January 11th.
Okay.
So,
were you full remote before that?
Half and half. We were remote for 2 weeks, and then they shut us down because of the COVID cases.
Okay.
And then,
you were in
then
person
we were
for
full
2 weeks.
Remote. Yes, in person. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
In person
Okay.
hybrid. And then we were remote for a longer period of time. And then came back January 11th, and we've been back since then.
And that's got to be, so you've got how many kids in person and how many kids at home? Like, what's the ratio?
So our district split it up for the parents who wanted their kids to stay virtual. They're a part of a virtual school.
So they're all
virtual.
Do you have to interact with them, or there's another teacher that handles them?
No, there's another teacher that took them. So
that's nice.
They just split us up. And then for the kids who wanted to come in, because my class is split. Half come in for 2 days, the other half come in the other 2 days.
Okay.
But my grade partner and I, we scheduled it so that the kids who, of course, the kids who are at home, we do, what's it called? Responsive classroom. So the kids are in for morning meeting. They have closing circle at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
But I do concurrent lessons for math. So they'll sign in for math, and then I'll have my students who are in front of me who are live.
Mm-hmm.
And do a concurrent math lesson with both groups who are at home.
Wow. So are they on a device, the kids that are live with you at that point?
They all have
okay.
computers.
So it's kind of, see, we're going to be going to that soon, and that's what I'm thinking. Like, it's going to be like virtual, but just in person a lot of the time.
Yeah, let me tell you, it's like 3 times the amount of work. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is insane. It's intense.
How many times do you say put on your mask?
Yeah, all the time.
Wow. Yeah.
But you know what? For the most part, they've been good. We take breaks here and there. And the kids are pretty good about it. Just reminding them that if they're going to wash your hands or going to the bathroom, put your mask back on.
Mm-hmm.
You can't walk around the classroom without a mask and, all that kind of stuff. So it's a new way of living,
Yeah.
The little ones.
That's crazy.
But my district now, it's completely different than where I came from, where most of my kids in the last 7 years were predominantly Black and brown, and now I'm teaching a predominantly white district. There's still Black, Hispanic, and Indian and Asian and all that kind of mixed in, but it's a different vibe,
Yeah.
It's a different vibe.
Yeah.
Still amazing kids on both sides of the spectrum, of course, but
you have to kind of tweak how you teach a little bit, I guess, right? Or no?
No, I don't think I had to tweak anything. I think not so much my approach in teaching hasn't changed.
Right.
All of my philosophies have still been the same.
Yeah.
But I think just how I'm one of 2 Black teachers in my building. So
that's a big deal. That's so.
Yeah. And honestly, where I came from, I was only one of 3. So,
interesting.
A large a large part of, less than 3% of teachers nationwide are Black teachers.
See, I'm very fortunate that, I teach in it's about 30 in our school. It's about 30 Black, 30 brown, 30 white, and maybe 5% Asian, but we have
super rare, Mealy.
It is. It's really cool. And it's also we have from homeless to kids that are get a brand new BMW to drive to school, and we have and so there's CEOs, there's people that are just moved here from another country that can barely speak English and are just living 10 deep in a house. We have people living in public housing. We have people and mixture both in the staff and administration that is probably like that as well. It's probably about half Black admin, and I think maybe there's a couple Hispanic, and then we have a world language magnet, so we've got a lot of people from all over the world. Honestly, we've got German and Chinese and different people from different Latin American countries as well as LGBTQ is ish represented. I guess I would say it's not represented. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In there as well. So it's a really, really unique situation.
Very diverse.
It's really, really cool. And I tell my kids it's such a wonderful thing because you get to meet, everyone. And actually, I didn't share this with you, Tedisco. It's kind of barely related to like what Kendrah's doing, but I was pushing for it, and my principal wanted to do it already. Eliminating honors versus what we call standard. They changed it to traditional, which I don't know what that means. Traditional or standard, but we're going to try and hopefully soon, because that was one of the challenges when I first came there 10 years ago. It was very segregated, where you could see a class that was honors and say, oh, that's all the white kids in there, that's the honors class. And I would literally talk to my black kids and say, dude, you're a stinking genius. Like, what are you doing in this class? Like, you're like the smartest, you're like smarter than most of the kids in this other class.
And they would go, what? They don't have any friends in honors?
Right. And they go, I don't feel comfortable there. It's just, it just doesn't fit. I feel awkward when I'm in there. And I would like go, I said, but you don't understand. Like, that's like, you need to like figure out how to, I'm not trying to tell you what to do with your life, but I'm like, you need to figure out how to do that. I said, because I hate to say it, but like, well, they're all saying that if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room, Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I said, in this classroom, there's you and like maybe 3 other kids based on their GPA that are going to college. I said, when you go to college, it's going to look like that honors room. Unless you go to like HBCU, you know what I mean? Like, so I said, and when you go to the workplace, I said, until things get better in this country, I said, it's going to look like that room there. You know what I mean? I said, and you need to like.
The difficult part is representation matters. It's hard.
Right.
It's tough.
I said, and I hate that. I said, it's not fair that you have to go there and break ground for somebody else, but if you want that room to look like this room, you need to go there first.
Yeah.
So we're going to get rid of hopefully honors and standard possibly, and just have so that each classroom can look like the school, and then we can kind of get that, and then at that point there is no like take that stigma away and that stereotype away that the kids start to get after a while that like, oh, white kids are honors and black kids are not. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Because that gets in their head. That gets in their psyche.
Listen, this has been around for years. I was just reading, there's a black female scholar. Her name is Dr. Lisa Delpit. I don't know if you've heard of her, but she has a book called Multiplication is for White People.
Oh, wow.
And the book talks about how she was in this class, much to what you were saying. She was in this class and she was sitting with a little boy and he was so frustrated because he couldn't get his multiplication facts, right? Mm-hmm. So she said, she went over to him and she said, it's okay. Like, just take your time. Let's figure this out. And he was like, you know what? I don't even want to do this. Multiplication is for white people. Oh. And, this was a young black kid saying this. And it just broke her heart. It just broke her heart. And so him saying that inspired her to write these books. Like, how do we reach our kids of color to realize that multiplication, math, whatever, the way that the things that we teach, that there's representation in it, you know?
Yeah.
And that,
And so I was gonna say that's one of the things that I'm probably like, you're saying about the small percentage that are teachers. And I've seen other things like, when was the first, like this survey I saw on Twitter, it's like, when's the first, what's the first black math teacher that you had, and there's so many people like, I was like a senior in high school or never, and it's like, and I hate to say it, but like, if you're black and good at math, you probably want to like other people that are good at math, coming and becoming a teacher is not what you want to like.
Yeah.
But thankfully at my school we have that. But like I said, it is rare, but it makes a difference. But like, and so those kids, they can see, like you said, representation. When you see it, it's more likely that you can be it, on the whole.
Absolutely.
I read a study recently. I forget where I came across it, but I read a study recently that was talking about, the statistic that gets brought up sometime about how, Asian students score higher in schools, especially mathematics classes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And, they found a lot of that just comes from just societal pressure and how a lot of them will will feel more pressured on tests if they have to like mark down that they're Asian before they take a test.
Oh, wow.
And the higher levels of anxiety and depression because they feel a societal pressure to do better than their average classmates.
Yeah.
I mean, the societal pressure it's so real and it affects the kids just every single day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It's a big challenge.
Does.
Yeah.
And I think that's why, like you said, when kids can see that, when they can see themselves and the people that they want to be, it makes it a lot easier for them.
Right.
To work towards that, towards those goals when they see that it's attainable.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Going off what you were saying, Mealy, so I now work at a school that is the least diverse school I've ever taught at. It is very white, and a lot of the teaching staff is very white, and so I'm just noticing, like it's my first year there, and so I'm trying to find ways to just have more of these sort of discussions with my students, but it's a very new challenge for me. But I mean, and as we're talking about things like the Harlem Renaissance and the history of our country and our country's history of racism, I keep emphasizing to them, like, guys, do you understand like how recent all this stuff is, right? Because I know you're not hearing those stories at home. So like, do you know this? Like, I had them make a chart, like a timeline of America, and I was like, all right, color in, like, how long do you think America had slavery? How long, color in how long did we have segregation in Jim Crow?
Right.
And like, I have to kind of like rethink how to teach all of this because they're not bringing in like anything.
Yeah. And it's like you said, you realize how important teaching is and how important representation is. And I do applaud the district that I'm in now. I mean, our assistant superintendent is a Black woman, Dr. Monica Taylor, who's amazing. And there's other assistant principals and principals who are also, folks of color, Dr. G, and tons of other folks who are, they're doing the work to bring in more representation, more people of color so that the students have more positive experiences, besides just hearing that Black people were slaves and, that, you know what I mean? Like just different perspectives.
Yes. Yeah. I saw like a funny video making a joke about it. It's like, it was like, okay, so Black people were slaves, and then there was Martin Luther King, and then Rosa Parks.
Rosa Parks sat on the bus.
That's on the boat. She said no. Thank you for Black History Month. Now let's go on to the next thing.
And then racism ended. It was over. Barack Obama became president.
Obama became president. Yes.
Well, that's it. Fine punctuation point, and now we live in utopia.
That's right. We're in a utopic society. Everything is fabulous.
So funny.
Fine.
Yes. And do we have a lot of work? Yes, we do. And, knowing that us having this conversation is good. And,
and
that just adds to it.
It does. So it does. Yeah. I think, I don't know if I mentioned it on the podcast or whatever. I think I've mentioned it. I hate tooting my own horn.
No, you don't.
Well, okay. I hate tooting my own horn about this because I feel like I'm like,
okay, that's fair.
Just trying to go, oh, look, I'm woke and like all this kind of stuff, whatever. Like I'm still growing. I'm doing my best to be my best anti-racist self, but I'm still working on it. But I made a commitment to myself over the summer, and I call it Black Lives Monday. So instead of like Black Lives Matters, kind of like take on that, and I teach math, so it doesn't fall naturally into I can't read Black poetry or talk about Black history in terms of historical, if I was teaching American history, I go, oh, that's what happened here in 17 this or 18 this or 19 this. But I take 10 to 15 minutes every week, and I have like a little inclusive lesson where I just share something with them, give them the opportunity to talk themselves. A lot of times it's like a video, like I've shown some Bettina Love, if you know who she is, and Principal Kafele. I was mispronouncing his name until I saw him, whatever, and kind of different stuff to kind of like share with them, and I also try and bring in some Hispanic stuff on some weeks and some LGBTQ stuff on some weeks, and just kind of like go, okay, I'm just going to just put this out here for 15 minutes and much like most of the pandemic, they're sitting there not saying anything. Like one class, one time it went really deep for about like 30, 40 minutes, and one of the girls was sharing about how she just, had learned to drive, and she's like drives by herself now from her grandma's house to her house, and how scared she's like, oh, it gets me all weepy inside. She's scared the entire drive.
Wow.
She's just like the whole time she's just worried that she's going to get pulled over and something bad's going to happen to her. I'm like every single time she drives. And this is something we don't realize. Like that feeling that she has every single time she drives, it's a real feeling. And it's not showing up on anybody's statistics anywhere when people try and go, well, look, we did this and we did this. It's like, no, you don't understand. Like it's not just that you've done this and you've done this. This is what happens this is how people feel when they're sitting in this situation. And it really kind of, so.
Absolutely.
Well, we got serious here to disco. It's supposed to be a silly podcast.
It got down a rabbit hole.
But that's good. That's good. We don't mind that. So, is there anything else you wanted to share other than we can go to your website, we can get your music? Anything else before we play it out here?
Just thank you both. Thank you, Mealy. Thank you to Disco. I really appreciate you having me as a part of your awesome podcast.
Oh,
it's been a pleasure.
It's been so much fun,
and I've really enjoyed it. And if you want more information for the music, please feel free to go to www.kendrah, BW, and that's spelled KENDRAHBW.com.
Cool.
For more info and all that good stuff. And please pray for us educators, the three of us, all the educators around the nation, because it is not an easy time.
No.
It is not an easy time to be a teacher.
We need all the prayer we can get.
That's right. I think I wish they would celebrate us a little bit more on the national news. God bless our frontline workers, but we're in the front lines too.
Very much so. Very much
celebrating all of us teachers and,
keep in mind all
for
the lazy teachers who are keeping your kids at home because we don't want to work. Or at least that's what the parents around me keep saying.
Yes. I mean, I figure all I've got to do, we've passed the 100th day of school. I've only got to give out 80 more worksheets, and then I'm ready for my summers off.
And grade 10 of them.
There you go.
Whatever.
That's right. Summer's going to be so good this year.
Yes, it will. Okay, and so thank you again, guys, for everyone tuning in. Thank you for Kendrah. We say it often, but I can't say it often enough. Kendrah is a new fan. I hope she's going to tell some of her friends about it.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed this episode, share it with a friend, share it with a colleague, tell somebody. Share with an enemy. Yes. Go wake your neighbor up at 3 a.m. and go, I'm being unprofessional because I heard about it on this podcast.
If you turn the volume up high enough at 3 a.m, it'll wake him up.
Yeah, just blast it from, and you can take your car out in the driveway and just blast it. Yes.
Say anything. Just hold up that boombox.
Yes. Say anything style. I share it with neighbors. Okay. As we always say at the end, guys, stay unprofessional. Oh, that was so much fun. Thank you so much.